Now here's a tractor company I haven't heard of. CL Best Tractor Company. An unusual design, big tank on top. And if you check it out, it's linked by chains to this contraption here, which is also belt driven off what looks like a traction engine down the end. I'm not sure what this is designed for, but I know that Rod used to be a high school principal, so maybe back in the old days this was designed so that you could paddle 4 misbehaving teenage boys at the same time. That's just my guess anyway. We have here a line of pop-ups with all kinds of stuff underneath for sale. There's tractor spare parts, tractor signs, things to wear while driving your tractor. Heck, they've even got stuff to drink after you finish driving your tractor. Now this tractor's got a good story to tell. It's been rescued. I like rescue stories. According to the sign, it says here that it spent 10 years sitting outside, going through floods with a seized engine, and the new owner spent the winter of 06-07 restoring it. It's a 1945 Farmall, which means that it's 65 years old. And look at it now. I reckon it's good for another 65 years at least. Beautiful job. Okay, here we have an unusual tractor. It's a little bit different from the others we've been seeing. It's got its engine slung out at the back, and it has this unusual arrangement at the front. So let's talk to the owner, Fred. Hi, Fred. When was this tractor made?
1948, 62 years old.
And how long have you had it?
I've had it for about 4 years.
4 years? Was it always in this good shape?
It certainly was not.
It's kind of unusual. Can you tell us what job it was designed to do?
Well, it was designed for the small truck farmers. There was a market for them, and with the engine in the rear on this tractor, they could put their cultivators on here and they could go right down through their garden and they wouldn't be plowing out their plants. So it gave them really great observation, and there was a myriad of attachments for that.
And is there a power takeoff, or do the stuffs just get dragged along?
It just gets dragged along, but it depends on the different hose and shovel points. But there is a power takeoff available for it.
And this is all basically for height adjustment, is it?
Yes, it is, for the depth control.
Fine. So how did you get it here? On the back of a truck or something?
I've got a expedition car that got a tractor trailer.
Okay. Did you come far?
I'm sorry?
Did you come far?
From Paradise, California.
Oh, that's not so far.
40-some miles, I believe. 50 miles. Maybe.
Is this your first tractor days at Eventful Acres?
Is this my first tractor?
No, your first event here at Eventful Acres?
No, I've been here. I've been every year. I've been here. I think this is the 5th one this year.
5th year. Well, it's a great event. Thanks very much for talking to us.
You're welcome.
Now, here's an interesting static display. It's a 1921 John Deere Waterloo Boy, it's called. It's got a big engine right in front of where the driver sits. And it has this sideways facing radiator, so I'm guessing it's water cooled. Apparently it runs on kerosene. And look at that fan belt. If that broke, you couldn't use the traditional remedy of borrowing your wife's pantyhose. It's got drive, I guess, here through this pinion to the rear wheel, and there's one on both sides. So it's got two-wheel drive. I don't know whether you can distribute the effort between the two wheels and maybe get a little bit of steering out of that way. And it's also got this little supplementary gasoline tank there. Not sure what's that for. Maybe the engine can run on both, who knows. And I'm always fascinated by the steering on these things. In this particular case, we have this big rigid front axle, and here's the link from the steering wheel. It comes down here, and then it turns that rod there, which connects up to the teeth on this semicircle here, and when that turns, by means of this rod here, it turns the two front wheels. Well, according to the sign, it weighs, what, 6,183 pounds, which must be about 2 3/4 tons. So it's a pretty big item. Now here's a very unusual tractor. On the negative side, I would say it has too low ground clearance to do a decent job. On the other hand, it's got a compartment to keep a cooler in it with your lunch, and it's going to keep you dry in the rain. It certainly looks good. Now here we see the traction engine doing what it does with a belt drive to this contraption over here. I'm not sure what this does, but I don't think I want to get my fingers caught in that. Now, I don't know how much this thing weighs, but the action of the piston and the steam engine, as you can see, is actually causing a slight rocking motion in sympathy with the movement of the piston. That must be a pretty powerful engine if it can shake this big thing. Okay, I figured this thing out. It's a hay baler. It's a guy who would pitchfork the hay into that compartment there. It would get compacted by the big descending arm, and it would make flakes, which then get bound into a bale. Actually, I'm kidding. Somebody explained that to me. So now you know. Okay, we're back at the Waterloo Boy because I have received an education which I wanted to pass on. I referred to this as a John Deere, A, because it's green, and B, because of this sign here. But in fact, there's more to the story than that. It seems like around about the time of the First World War, John Deere made everything the farmer might need in terms of tools and implements and attachments, except the tractor itself. So they decided, reasonably enough, it would be a good idea if they made one so that the farmer could go to John Deere for one-stop shopping. Well, they did make one, and apparently it was rubbish. So they looked at this one and bought the company. And this is the origin of John Deere tractors. I think they bought the company around about 1917 or something. And the reason for this auxiliary tank here is because when the engine was cold, it was started on gasoline, which apparently is easier to do in cold weather. And then there's a switchover so that it then runs on kerosene off this bigger tank up front. And the reason they used kerosene was because kerosene was already in most farmsteads as a source of heat and light, and farmers were comfortable working with this. So there you are. You know a lot more about this vehicle now than we did before.